Now, our top story this morning, South Korea could see more than 5,000 new COVID-19 cases on Wednesday as Omicron spreads rapidly in regions outside the capital. Despite this, the government is looking to loosen vaccine pass rules and add more exemptions.
Yes, for more COVID updates, we have our COVID-19 correspondent, Yeon-seung, here in the studio with us. Good morning, Yeon-seung.
Good morning, Mo-kyun.
So like always, let's start with the daily infection cases. We heard that it's expected to go up today.
Exactly. So Wednesday's cases are expected to top 5,000. Up to 9 p.m. Tuesday, there were 4,846 new COVID-19 cases reported nationwide, jumping about 1,500 from the day before. It's also the first time in 3 weeks that more than 4,000 infections have been reported on a Tuesday night.
And do officials know what exactly is fueling this spike?
Well, Omicron is spreading rapidly in regions outside the capital, so that may be feeding into the recent rise in infections. It's already dominant in Gwangju City, where more than 80% of their analyzed case samples are Omicron. There are also reports of Omicron tipping over 50% of the local infections in Jeollabuk-do and Jeollanam-do provinces as well. So Omicron may have already taken over in those regions. Recently, infections outside the capital area have contributed to around 40% of local cases, an obvious increase, seeing as the figure reported early this month was around 30%. The government said that if daily infections rise to the 5,000s for several days straight, they're going to get ready to shift their medical and prevention response in a way that's more adaptable to Omicron. They haven't announced the specifics to how the response will change, but it may not be long before we see these changes because Omicron is expected to become dominant nationwide by this weekend.
So, Yeon-seung, speaking of government response, we heard that the government has removed the need for vaccine passes in certain areas such as, theaters and study rooms. So are we expecting more changes in the future?
Exactly. So that rule actually went into effect yesterday, as you know, and now we may expect some more tweaks to the vaccine pass rule. Son Young-rae, a senior health ministry official, said Tuesday that the government is looking to provide more exceptions to the vaccine pass rule. That announcement is due later this week. Currently, exemptions include people who have already recovered from COVID-19, those who couldn't complete their regimen due to adverse reactions, the immunocompromised, or those who have been recommended by their doctors to not get vaccinated. There have been some requests regarding adding pregnant women to the exemption list, but the government seemed quite adamant against making that decision. However, certain people with specific health conditions will be added to the list, so we'll just have to wait and see until the end of this week to see what changes will be made.
Okay, let's turn to vaccine passes for minors because there's still some confusion over whether 12 to 18-year-olds will be exempt. So do we have any updates on that front?
Right, so let me clear up the backstory a little bit for you, Mark. So the government's original plan was to enforce vaccine passes for those aged 12 to 18 starting from March. But since the Seoul Administrative Court decided to suspend vaccine passes for underage citizens, the government is looking to appeal because health authorities still remain adamant that vaccine passes are needed to protect minors, especially at venues like PC rooms, singing rooms, restaurants, and cafes. In fact, the government continues to encourage teenage vaccination and has even offered to pay compensation to those who suffer from side effects. Education Minister Yoon said in a government briefing on Tuesday that the government will pay up to 5 million Korean won or $4,200 to 12 to 18-year-olds who show serious adverse reactions within 90 days of inoculation. The government is also trying to help out with students' mental health and who are dealing with the so-called corona blues. The Ministry of Education in 2022 will allocate more than $300 million to help set up programs that provide support to students whose mental health has been affected by the pandemic. Up to 3 million won, or roughly $2,500 will also be offered in assistance to students who try to self-harm or suffered debilitating depression due to the pandemic.
Well, that sounds like some relief for some of us. Yeon-seung, as always, thank you so much for your report. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.